Greetings, nerds. This is Scene and Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. Welcome back. We are back.
We are. I'm gonna just put out this spoiler alert. This is gonna be very anticlimactic.
Jeez, how about this drive everybody away from the first 30 seconds?
I just, a part of me is just like you
Oh
just.
gosh.
Part of me is like, really, we're back, but we're only gonna go off again next week, and
True.
we really wanted, I guess, we really wanted to talk about some things that arguably we didn't have to, but oh man,
Well,
um,
speak for yourself.
yeah, yeah. Well, I guess, okay. On that note, then by all means, please lead this discussion about Eyes of
I'm like
Wakanda.
Eyes of Wakanda. Yeah. So, I guess you are like exhibit A for like I'm not gonna put that on you, but no, but seriously, it's like Eyes of Wakanda. This show was supposed to like drop at the end of August, and then somehow Marvel got the idea like, oh, let's just push it up and like not do any kind of promotion or very well or barely any promotion and stuff. And I'm beginning to be like, man, what is this? What is this trend with like Marvel and like part of it's sort of like, is it this the shows that were like greenlit in a prior administration where they're just like, we're just gonna just dump all these things and just clean the slate so we can just get to Avengers. I mean, because that's how I feel with the promotion of Eyes of Wakanda. It was supposed to be end of August, and they moved it up to like August the 1st. And but yeah, it's an anthology show, and I remember us talking about it. Gosh, speaking of like whenever they were just greenlighting like everything, and we were speculating like what is it actually going to be about. We knew it was going to be obviously tied to Wakanda and Black Panther and all that, but at one point was it like a story about the Dora Milaje, or because I think one scoopers are saying that it's going to be Okoye story or something else. But what we end up getting is an anthology and kind of a history, the sort of walk through Wakandan history, with sort of key events and interspersed with world events, in the anthology, where we see the war dogs going out and recovering some of the artifacts that were enters of Wakanda, spread out throughout the world, and they were sort of like their own little CIA or secret spy agency that were doing all these things to not get discovered. So so I really did enjoy it. I have to say, didn't have high expectations, or didn't really have any expectations, to be honest. And like as I referenced earlier, it was kind of called kind of flat footed that we were planning to talk about it later, and then it got moved up. So this is why we're chatting about it now.
Um, so I was not following. You said at the very beginning, I am exhibit A, and then
Well,
you went in a different direction. Can you
yeah,
please let
no,
me understand what
well,
your intention was?
yeah, well, this is more just the how this is kind of just it was just it's why the show, I think, has just kind of snuck up on people, and maybe if it had gotten proper promotion or
You
like,
know me and my algorithm. I wouldn't have
yeah,
seen it even if it had proper promotion.
yeah,
Like these days, I don't. It's not for me. I guess it's not about proper promotion or anything.
yeah,
And I do remember the history that you were just talking about the show's development,
yeah,
on again, off and again, half in, half out, and everything. Um and I'm not mad at the show. I've seen worse things. Marvel has definitely produced worse things in the MCU. Ant-Man, Quantumania. But at the same time, um, this is just this kind of goes along the same lens as Ironheart.
mhm,
This show has potential.
yeah,
They showed it. very, and it's very similar to What If. Like, this is very this honestly, a lot of this felt like, okay, these could have also been what if stories in a way.
No, no, no.
No, no,
I,
no. Like, you gotta hear me out first.
okay,
So, that's at least my impression. I understand it's not the same thing as What If because we're not swapping characters. I totally get that. And this
no.
is more about the history of this society and this culture. Um, but to me, like, that's, like, the next of kin.
Yes, yeah, yeah, I'm actually was going in a different direction. I wasn't going about the swapping. I think to your point, to me it was better than What If, and because it told What If had talk about potential. I feel like in these 4 episodes, I got better stories, better execution than I did in, what was it, like 26 or however many over what the 3 seasons or so, What If. By the end of What If, I mean, it was just like, "What the fuck?" Because it was just so disappointing. I mean, there was some highlights throughout What If, but I felt that this of the Marvel animation shows, I know I think we both really enjoyed the, Spider-Man earlier this year, and yeah, and me personally, I really enjoyed this one. I mean, I think it was good. I mean, it did a
But were
was a
you
great.
gonna do a ranking and then you backed off?
No, no, no.
It
No,
sounded
no,
like you were gonna do a ranking.
no. I mean, no, no ranking. No, no. I mean,
Okay.
well, yeah, I mean, well, I can rank it. I will say that this is better than What If for sure. Um, as
Like,
far as
to me, that's comparing 3 seasons of a TV show versus 4 episodes of a TV show.
Yeah, but the 4 episodes, I mean, are definitely more memorable than maybe well, honestly, there are like a handful of What If episodes that are memorable. The
Probably
rest,
about
I'm like,
4.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, like, to me, I'm like, "Okay, you're going off of recency bias because what if the last season sucked?"
Yeah.
But at the
Well,
same time, that doesn't mean that the whole show did, and I'm not defending What If. I'm just saying, like, there are a lot of similarities, especially in the last episode, because of they did the exact same thing that the last season of What If was trying to do, of saying, like, all of these events are kind of interlinked, and then I mean, I was just waiting for the watcher to start talking.
I did, yeah. Apparently, the Watcher. I saw someone comment on a video I was watching that the Watcher did show up in episode 4.
You
Whenever,
know, I would not be surprised because
yeah,
some of the angles I was looking at 'em, I was like, "Is did the watcher just sneak in and, like, slowly disappear, and am I hallucinating?" I don't know.
yeah.
But
Well, it
but
was,
I felt like there was this weird ominous presence, so
yeah. Well, I think it was in the sequence whenever, when the 2 were driving through the jungle and the future, uh, Black Panther showed up. I think it's whenever maybe that was the moment when the Watcher may have appeared, but, no, but I mean, what I was really getting at with as far as with the What If angle versus this show, it was just more. I mean, I think both had potential. What I wish the show had was just more episodes, because I think y you know, the 4 episodes were good. What I did like about it too was, other than the end of the 4th episode where they do have the tie-in to, um, to Black Panther, it was nice just to go into a show where it was just 4 standalone episodes overall, versus What If, where I felt like there are times like, is it supposed to be connected? I think even maybe at some point it was connected to the MCU, and then maybe it wasn't. So, because I mean, I know we were just talking multiple times, like, with Doctor Strange and his story, like, where we're going to get some things that happen in What If, like, show up in Multiverse of Madness and other things. But since they did go into some of the multiverse stuff in What If, but so it was nice. It was a nice change of pace where this show was just truly 4 anthologies that just sort of walk through Wakandan history, and how, the events that, the lengths that they went to not be detected, sort of colored to me, as I was watching it, it was sort of the lesson that how the secrecy sometimes definitely you know could lead to, and did in this particular universe, and it was in 616, did lead to ultimately their downfall, to the place where they were so insular that when the horde came, it was too late for them to rescue Earth, even though they were like you know had a future tech and could have possibly changed the outcome. So, which eventually, of course, they did. Which by sending doing the her going back in time and doing the reverse causality, was able to do that. So, still there?
Yeah, yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm still
This is
here.
so hard whenever you just like climb up.
No, I'm trying to figure out
Yeah,
where to go, what to
yeah,
bring up after that statement. Like, I'm not a hater of this show by any
yeah.
means. It's perfectly fine. It it just I didn't feel like I learned anything, that I didn't already know about Wakandans, and their history and their secrecy from, the 2 movies. And to me, like, it wasn't I mean, that last episode, it drills in the point that you were just, talking about. And, so that's a little bit of an expansion, but at the same time, there were a lot of similarities, and there was a lot of stuff that I think that they could have done way more with, that would have been way more interesting, in terms of, for example, I think that they honestly told the second episode wrong, and
Mm,
here's why I say it. They should have started with him returning to the village.
mm,
And we should have seen the story play out in reflection. And the episode should have been more focused on what he was talking about at the end. Bakai was talking about with director Nami about more about that, like, I've returned after years of being away, and I sacrificed arguably my best friend. I literally killed my best friend for this home,
mhm.
um, and yet now that I've returned, it's not home.
Yeah,
Like when they like tiptoed on that, I was like, oh my god, this should have been at the beginning, and this should have like they could have exploited that more. Just because psychologically, that is so
yeah,
similar to PTSD from war vets
yeah.
and all sorts of like Call of Duty professions. So I wish that they could have taken more of that
Mhm.
stance rather than focused on the secrecy. And I'm just
Yeah,
like, we've
yeah,
explored that.
yeah. I will say the second episode was probably my least favorite of the four.
Yeah, as it should be, because all it
Yeah.
did was make me wanna go and watch Troy from 2024. Like, I
Yeah.
literally looked it up on IMDb because I was trying to figure out who played the love interest and all this stuff, and
Mhm.
but, and then and also that's the weakest episode because another thing it made me write down, and I hopefully I'm not the only one who thought this while watching specifically that episode, but this is starting to feel like Transformers movie where they inserted various Transformers or I forget what they're called into like very historical events.
The Allsparks, was that the I know that was the
What?
thing in the Transformers.
What?
Yeah. No, the what was it? The little MacGuffin as far as just
I don't
inserting.
know the movie. I don't know which movie it's from,
Uh-huh. Okay.
but I do know it happened. I think it's the one with Mark Wahlberg. But anyway, listeners, if you're Transformers, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
Clearly, me
yeah.
and Will have no idea what we're talking about with
No,
Transformers.
yeah, I checked out after the second Transformers movie. So
I think everybody did. Everybody should have.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
Well,
there,
sound
so
like
there was that.
yeah.
I found the Lost and Found episode to be interesting with Durrani.
Mhm.
Um, I just d- again, it could have been. I don't know. It just it felt short, and this is another thing, and this is why I brought up Ironheart. Um, you could have avoided the whole what if comparison if you had focused on my comparison to Ironheart.
No,
um,
no, no.
but
It's
that these stories have potential in, but I don't know how invested to get,
mm,
because at the end of the day, Ironheart had 8 episodes, and at the end, the last episode was arguably had some of its best moments, and left you in a position where you're just like, that's a cliffhanger. And yet I have been thinking this, like, we're only going to get one season, and now I need a season 2. And it's a very weird place to be while watching something, like half in, half out. I mean, to your point about all of the development ebbs and flows, it's another reason why like audiences need to know what they're getting on board with, because
mm,
TV these days, it's a commitment.
yeah. Well,
it's it's not just let me like casually watch these things without knowing that that's going to get connected, or like there's going to be a payoff of, so to
yeah.
speak.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe that's just I mean, maybe, and that's maybe an indictment of the MCU, of creating this expectation of, early on, that everything has to, everything is interconnected, and and it's just, that was one thing I did like about this show was, I didn't, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's set in a world that we understand and we know as far as Wakanda, but I mean, once I realized that, I was like, oh, they're going to the past, and we're getting new characters, and maybe familiar beats, but at least some new stories, and it's not necessarily like, other than the, the one piece, the one artifact, that does show up in Black Panther, but otherwise it's like, okay, I can rock with this. It's new stories, new characters. I didn't feel like I didn't feel like, I mean, this is one of those shows, like, if you had not watched Black Panther, the 2 movies, a newbie could come in and easily watch it and not feel like, "Oh god." Like what you tell me with Star Trek, it's like it's hard for you to get into it because, you know, you got almost 60 years of of lore to, like, have to catch up with, and, and so the barrier for entry for this show was, like, very, very low to, like, none. So,
Absolutely, but I
yeah,
don't think, like, to your point about the marketing, new viewers aren't going to find this show.
yeah,
Like, only people who are going to actually want to watch it or seek this show out are already invested in the universe, want to see more stories explained, specifically with Wakanda. And but at the same time, like, it's like, well, but it's 4 episodes. These are all new characters. Is it connected or is it not connected? Why would I waste 4 hours or 2 hours watching it with, like, not knowing that, oh, if you watch that, then it'll lead over here,
yeah,
or it'll, or not even lead into, maybe that's the wrong point to make.
mhm,
Like, okay, so are you gonna give me 4 episodes in a year? Like,
yeah,
what, this was nice, but I feel like this is an appetizer. And so I don't know if I really want an appetizer, like, where's the main course?
mm. Well, I mean, like I said, I mean, I think and again, that's, I think, to my earlier point, I mean, that maybe that's we have gotten some people have gotten so conditioned to like that is what we have to have with Marvel, that now that they're changing it up a little bit and making things more standalone. I mean, we saw that a little bit too with Fantastic Four. People,
Oh, Fantastic Four is not standalone.
well, I mean, it was a
Oh,
standalone movie.
I mean, in the sense that like they didn't do the whole "this is how I got." Well, they did. I missed that scene. Go back and re-listen to that episode. You'll hear the whole story of how and why I missed that scene. But like at the same time, I guess to your point, it standalone. I think that watching that movie, you leave the movie still with the expectation you're going to get a sequel. If
Yeah,
not,
but
but and you already and because of the mid-credit, if you stayed long enough for the mid-credit, you know that those characters in this story will continue in Doomsday. So
true.
the as standalone, I mean,
Well,
you can't
maybe,
make that argument about Thunderbolts. Um,
yeah,
Arguably, you could make that that about Captain America 4, but that's just
yeah,
because it didn't do the
maybe,
best in the box
maybe,
office.
yeah, true. Well, maybe standalone is not. I mean, standalone is maybe a little bit too strong of a word, but I would say, I mean,
I think that where
it's
you're getting at with the Marvel stuff is more about moving away from the multiverse, which has been the downfall of
yeah,
Marvel for a while now. And and it goes beyond just the whole Jonathan Majors
yeah,
situation. It's just about things got way too interconnected and
mhm,
the novelty of it all was lost in the shuffle, plus COVID, plus the writers,
yeah,
like so many things
yeah.
have
So, I
happened in
mean,
the last like phase.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I think, because I guess the Infinity Saga was just so well executed,
Right.
and then you get the
We
multiverse.
wanted more.
Yeah, yeah. And the multiverse saga, because of all the factors you just mentioned, including, I think, just the studio getting greedy and just like over did the output. Um, yeah, caused it to, yeah, for us all to get worn out. So
Greedy
now
or trying to meet demand. I don't know who's to blame.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. But getting back to this show, I mean, yes, it is connected in a sense that, like I said, I mean, there was the main artifact that, and then we do get the little scene there at the end with Killmonger and the artifact, um, that ties it back into Black Panther. So yeah, it is connected, and it is in the 616 universe. So yeah, it is connected in that way. But at the same time, I mean, but you could, for a new let's just stipulate that this is a new viewer who just happens to come across this on Disney Plus, a younger viewer who hasn't been who didn't start with the MCU back in 2008 like you and I did. Let's say it's a newer viewer who's just coming on, who is just discovering this. They're younger viewer, maybe, they were just born around the time that the MCU started. This show is a good entry point for them now, because they don't nec- they can don't necessarily have to like have to have had to watch all the preceding stuff to be able to get into it. They could just like start here, and then they see that scene at the end with Killmonger, and then they go watch Black Panther, like, oh, it all makes sense now. So I mean, there's different, so I guess my point is more, this show is a good on ramp for newer viewers who maybe wanted to check out Marvel, but felt it was just so daunting because it's like they got on, there's just so much pro stuff before it that it just would be overwhelming for someone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. But
um
yeah, but
any yeah,
yeah, I
any
was just,
other questions or points about
oh, I
this?
mean, yeah, I mean, just thinking about the third episode. Maybe it was cool finally seeing Iron Fist presented correctly. Oh, after that abomination on Netflix.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah. But other than that, no, I don't have anything else.
Yeah. All right. And you watched the One Piece trailer.
Yeah, I did watch the One Piece trailer. One Piece season 2 is coming early next year. It was about a 1 minute 30 trailer, just reintroducing all the Straw Hat Pirates back to to the screen, and seeing some of the newer characters as well. I've been good though. I have not thought about it, but then I was like, nope. But I kept I kept the integrity of our agreement intact, where I didn't go watch the source material or read the source material. I'm just going to stick to the live action world, and so we'll be on the same page when we watch it together next year. But yeah, it was pretty cool. And also, season 3 was also greenlit for this show as well. So we'll get more live action One Piece after season 2.
Yep, yep. Looking forward to that in 2026. The other thing that everyone is looking forward to is Spider-Man, as all of the behind the scenes are starting to leak out for Spider-Man Brand New Day. And will I will admit I don't really I haven't been following it.
I've seen it. I did see a clip on like social media with him, right? I guess the I guess he was hooked up in a harness or whatever, and it was like a crane, and
Yeah.
he was swinging around. Yeah, I did see that. I did see
I
that. But
see a lot of things with him moving around
yeah,
and
yeah,
everything, but
yeah,
I don't look into it
yeah.
to spoil myself.
Yeah,
Um,
it was truly like it was more just like drive by as I'm scrolling, instead of like
right,
actually you can't, well, yeah, because again the algorithm's just like, yeah, we're gonna see all this stuff. I mean, like the latest thing, like now, given that the news that Superman's going to be dropped on digital, um released this Friday. So now it's just like the algorithm, since I've like had so much Superman stuff over the last month. It's just feeding me all these like clips of like the 1 hour featurette, as far as um, James Gunn and Dave Cornsweet debating the speech at the end of the movie. I haven't watched a minute of it. I'll watch it whenever when I finally do like rent the movie, or buy it, or download buy it, that or rent it down the line. But yeah, I'm just like, nah. I see it as I scroll, but I'm not going to stop. I'll just watch the whole thing in context.
right, right, right. Yeah. I mean, then again, Spider-Man, I think every production always gets a lot of media attention.
Yeah,
So it is
yeah,
nice to see Tom back in the suit though. It
it
feels
is.
feels like home,
Yeah,
feels safe, and it'll be interesting. I mean, I Spider-Man is just they've had a very interesting history. I mean, back when we were talking about Superman and Fantastic Four, I told you offline, I'm like, you can't compare Fantastic Four to Superman because that's
right.
very different in terms of like legacy character. The only Marvel character you can compare to Superman is Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is a legacy character. The
Mhm.
arguably the only legacy character that Marvel has. And
Yeah,
Marvel has to share custody with Sony.
yep.
So, just like there's a reason why they share custody and why Sony has like refused to let it go, because I mean, if you look at all of the Spider-Man films over the last 2 decades, it's yeah, they have definitely had their misses, but yet still, I mean, earlier this year, we were talking about Amazing Spider-Man and
Mhm.
how we're like, this is familiar, similar, yet nostalgic and different,
Yeah.
weird. Like, it's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just it'll be interesting next year. I mean, it's coming out right after Nolan drops that other Tom Holland movie called
Yeah.
The Odyssey.
Yep.
A little independent film.
Just a little small one. Yeah.
I mean, that's what Nolan does these days, just these little minor independent films.
Yep.
Dear
Only
Lord.
that yeah, that only has the trailers. You can only see the if, in the theater, so, but, so Sarah doesn't have to worry about me, like, spoiling it on the or she's like, "Hey, have you watched that trailer yet?" Like, "No, 'cause I missed the trailer for that particular movie."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it'll be interesting in 2026 to see if people are, as they say, returning to the movies, which has only been the topic of conversation since 2022. The
yeah, yeah.
return to
Oh,
the movie.
it's been hard, uh, the discourse over the last really couple weeks has just been
Yeah.
like, it's been nice. It's actually been nice just to like be away from it for a little bit because
Mhm.
I'm just so if I see another freaking thing about freaking fucking box
Mhm.
office, I'm just like, I don't give a shit. I mean, I really don't. I mean, the movies, stop. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's like, come on, come up with something fresh.
Well, I mean, I understand it's hard to from a reporting perspective because like those are the numbers, that's the business and they're so from a newscast perspective, those are the headlines because you're reporting on
Yeah,
the business itself.
right.
But I unfortunately I think that conversation is just going to continue through August now with weapons coming out and
Yeah,
doing what it's doing. And then, which is also resuming the conversation that was occurring earlier this year when Sinners was out in theaters.
yeah. Hmm.
And the thing that annoys me about the conversation is that there are so many different factors
Yeah,
involved.
yeah.
And because you're also talking about differences of budgets.
Mhm.
and and yes, that's another thing that whether it's Marvel or DC need to take better like make more business wise decisions about like
Yeah,
you if you do put that much money into the project and you don't make the return that you're expected, then that's on you. You
yeah,
just
yeah.
that wasn't very smart of you to do, and
Exactly.
so some of that conversation and I mean, at the end of the day, a movie like what happened with Sinners and what looks like is probably gonna be happening with Weapons based on what I hear about it, is that people like word of mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
people go into it not knowing anything about it, being exposed to this brand new thing,
Mhm.
and then they leave. The unfortunate thing about comic book movies or TV shows these days, the novelty is lost.
Yeah. It
Like,
is. Yeah.
it's not necessarily about it being an event or anything. It's just about that novelty of watching these characters because yes, we finally got a Superman movie and we haven't had one in a while.
Yeah.
Yet we had a TV show.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yet
yeah.
there were a lot of references in a few other movies, Justice League. Like he was in the Justice League movie. Like we it's been a while, but at the same time, he's definitely not been absent from the zeitgeist by any
Right.
means.
Right.
So it's just I mean, last year we're talking about Penguin. So
Yeah.
we're not really missing Batman at the moment because that universe is still relatively has been in the zeitgeist recently.
Yep.
So
And yeah, yeah. And I think and I think, the shorthand, it's like, comes up, it says it's superhero fatigue or whatever. It's like, no, it's not. I don't necessarily that. I think it's story fatigue.
yeah.
And and it's just bad storytelling, and people what like good stories, and so that's why a thing like weapons, or from what I've heard, and I've seen Sinners, and yeah, I mean it's just something new, something fresh, something different, and people, both Fantastic Four and Superman did have good stories, and also Thunderbolts. I mean, because
I was
again,
gonna say,
yeah, I was like, oh, I wasn't sure about it, and I was so like, cold on Thunderbolts, but came out
yes,
of
you
that, I
were.
was like, I came out of it, I was like, oh, that was a good, really good movie, and so when you tell good stories, people will come. But I think the other thing is too. I mean, the the expectations, y- you know, like the $1 billion films that have happened, and at least in the genre, have been like big. They've been leading to something. Like with the
Mhm.
End Game and Infinity War,
Yeah, yeah.
Spider-Man was leading to something. Deadpool and Wolverine, that's just it was that was the thing, the team up everybody's been wanting. So there's been like but by and large, most of these films have basically performed just like Fantastic Four and Superman
Mhm.
has, which is between that 400 to $800 million range. So it's just this narrative that's taken off over the last few weeks. It's just so like exhausting, just so dumb. I mean, it's just like that's basically where most of these films are going to fall under.
And honestly, I think the best points I've heard about this conversation have to really delve into the realization movies are expensive.
Yeah.
Not I'm not talking to produce, to go to.
Yes.
I mean, the 2 movies I saw this past month in IMAX both times, and
Mhm.
my experience with Superman, okay?
Yep. Yep.
I paid over $20 a ticket for both
Same.
of those.
Same.
And
Yeah.
so, like, that's another reason why like, that's arguably the main reason why I'm just, like, over going to the movies is because at the end of the day, that's that's a lot of money
It's a lot of money. It
for
is. And then
2 plus hours of entertainment, supposedly, and an experience that you're gonna remember, and when you walk out of the movie after seeing Quantumania, you're
yeah.
just like, "What the fuck was that?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
paid
Yeah.
how much for that?"
Yeah. And especially and also too, it's just like, the release windows are so short these days. So a lot of folks like, I can just, I'll just wait 30 days or whatever and just catch it on streaming. I mean,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah,
yeah.
the main demographic, families do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Families are going to do that because they're adding up the $25 a kid, and they're just like, "Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no. We're
No,
not
no,
gonna
no.
go
Yeah.
to the movies for
Oh no.
$100."
Oh no. Yeah,
Oh my
exactly.
god.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, there are other economic reasons. It's not just stories, it's not just, like, the craft of it all or the fatigue of the genre in general, like all movies across the board, it's just the economy right now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's really and I mean, yeah, so
Yeah.
well, we won't beat that drum too long.
Yeah.
And we will be back not next week, but the week after to continue to resume our conversation about Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
season 2 is a coming, and we're looking
Yep.
forward to that, especially after all of those Superman tie-ins.
Totally.
Um, so
Yeah.
on that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me on all the socials at Will M. Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me there too at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at Scene and Nerd, on Blue Sky. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and threads at underscore N underscore nerd, and visit our website, www.sceneandnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get podcasts. Good night, geek out. You're welcome.